All right, guys, this is video number 2 from week 1, day 2. And we're still covering chapter 1.1. Last video, we talked about the distance formula. This video, we're talking about the second big topic for today, which is the midpoint formula, or how to find the midpoint between two values. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the formula first. I'm giving it to you for 1 dimension or 1D, as well as for 2 dimensions or 2D. So 1 dimension first. If you had numbers, these are just regular numbers, x1 and x2. The midpoint is just their average, right? That's how you find average, right? You add the two together, divide by 2. So the midpoint is the average of the two. Okay, what about for 2 dimensions? Well, it's actually very similar. You're taking the average of the x coordinate and the average of the y coordinate. And that turns out to be the midpoint. Now, why is that? So I'm going to give you a quick explanation. This time, not as long as the first video. And then we'll jump straight into some questions. All right. So let me draw you a quick picture. So first in the 1 dimension. With 1 dimension, we're talking here about a number line, right? You got a number line. So here's your, here will be, let's say this is 0. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, let's take 2 numbers. Let's say it's 1. Now, by the way, this works even with negative numbers as well. So it doesn't have to all be positive. But for the sake of illustration, I'm just going to pick positive numbers. So let's say 1. I have 1 and 7. Okay. So here I've got some distance between 2 points, and I want to know what's the midpoint. Well, midpoint should be right in the middle, right? So how far is this? Well, this is starting from the starting position. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a distance of 6, right? So that means the middle point should be right in the middle at 3 away from the start, which should be right there, right? So that makes the middle position 4. Okay, what does the formula say? Formula says just take the average. Well, let's see if that works. So 1 plus 7 divided by 2 is the midpoint formula, right? That's 8 divided by 2, which brings you to 4. And look, yes, 4 is right in the center, right? Visually, it's the average. It makes the 2 halves on either side equal. Okay, that's great to know. So that means the midpoint, when I'm talking about numbers, is just the middle, and it's also just the average of the 2 numbers. Great information. That's 1 dimension, or 1D. Now, what happens in 2 dimensions? So 2 dimensions, I have a point here and maybe a point out. Let's make it 6 apart like it was the last time. So let's say this is a point 1 comma, I don't know, 3. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. So that's going to give me the new point 7. And then I'm going to pick a new y coordinate. So let's go 1, 2, 3, up, 4 up. Let's do 5 up. So that's going to be 7 comma 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, so here are my coordinates. This over here is 7 comma, never mind, it's not important. Not important right now. Okay, so what is the line that connects those two guys? It will be the line that looks something like this, right? And now what I want to know is what's the middle between that line? Well, the formula says I can just treat each individual piece separately. So I can treat the x coordinate separately and the y coordinate separately. So thinking about that, here I have a distance of 6, right? 6 across. Well, earlier we saw that same exact distance. Halfway between those two would be right here, right? 1, 2, 3 this way, 1, 2, 3 that way. So I go up, and this will be that should be the midpoint wherever that lands. What about the y position? Okay, well, it should be, if I look at this thing, it's a gap of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the average of 5 would be 2.5. So 1, 2.5, that's right here, right? So I line those 2 pieces up, and look where you land, right? I averaged the x position, averaged the y position. This takes me right to the center, and look what I just made. I've made 2 equally sized triangles, which visually shows you that, yeah, that makes sense. That is indeed the center position. How did I get there? I just halved the x distance, I halved the y distance, I ended up right where I wanted to be, right in the dead center. And I'm getting really inaccurate. That's why I'm drawing my dot bigger and bigger. Okay, so that's the midpoint formula. Now let's see it in action. We've learned the two main things for today already. And right here, our instructions said we should try problem 1, part B. In the last video, we did problem 1, part A. So now we're going to move on to problem 1, part B. So this was part A I just did earlier, last time. Part B, I'm looking for the midpoint. What's my notation here? Do I have a notation? Yeah, M. M for midpoint. So M, the midpoint is, okay, here are my two numbers, right? -4, 1, and -7, -9. It should be x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That's my x coordinate. And by the way, this is how you show your work, right? Easy, simple, one step. Plug it into the formula. The y coordinate would be 1 plus -9, also divided by 2. And then the final step, -4 plus -7 is -11 divided by 2, -11 halves. 1 plus -9 is -8 over +2, or, okay, I'm sorry, I lied. I'm going to do one more step simplifying. -11 halves is okay. -8 over 2 should be -4. And there it is. Problem 1, part B. Sweet. Okay, let's see. Should I continue? I'm going to stop this video actually. In the next video, we'll start doing more problems.